Hey everybody, it's Abby Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. Hope you're having an amazing Wednesday, day before the 4th of July. Today we're going to be doing our member spotlight. We're going to be talking with Allison from Sewing by Sarah. And Allison, oh, I see that you're here. That's awesome. So just request to join and I'll let you in. Allison is one of our members and talk to them about their business, learn a little bit about their creative journey, see some samples that they might have in their studio, maybe get a little tour, all that good stuff. So today we're talking with Allison. Hi, Allison. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you
Of
for having me.
course. So nice to see you. And I would love to learn a little bit about how you got into this business and about what it is that you're doing now with this business.
So I worked in corporate apparel retail for quite a long time, and I got laid off from my job about 2 weeks after my maternity leave ended, and needed to pivot to something else, and really wanted to be creative. I was in a very analytical job. I had quilted for many, many years, and it was just something I went back to for my own mental health kind of during that time period. And then I wanted to start a business. So I looked into purchasing a business, and I found very serendipitously this business of sewing supplies that was for sale. And so that's why it's called Sewing by Sarah and not Sewing by Allison. It's because I purchased the business from someone else. It was successful. It had a very quick growth path, the business, and so looked great. And then, I hit some bumps in the road for sure. We were selling other people's products that were then appearing on Amazon, and right, the price just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And I thought to myself, I'm a quilter. He wasn't a quilter, the previous owner. So I can add something to this. I can solve customers' problems, myself. And so I started to think about products that I felt like maybe weren't in the market for what I wanted to do. And I started to create them myself. So that's kind of where I am now. And we can talk about those as
Yeah,
well.
that's great. And I love that there was like this journey of learning to trust yourself after having purchased the business, that you knew what value you personally could add to it and make those changes. So I do want to walk back to when you purchased this business. How did you find it? I think a lot of people overlook the opportunity to purchase the business. And in fact, our webinar in August, so next month, is going to be a panel discussion about buying and selling businesses, because I feel like it's an opportunity. People often think, oh, I have to start from scratch. That's the only option. But it is an opportunity to get a running start. But there's a lot to consider. So how did you find this? Was this someone you knew or knew about, or did you go on a marketplace of sorts to find this business?
Yeah. I did go on a marketplace, and my husband and I looked at franchises. We looked at all sorts of different types of businesses. And I wanted to have a job that would allow me to have flexibility, right? And so there's different categories of different types of companies. A store is amazing, but it's a huge amount of time and effort. And I had two small children. So we were really looking for a business that was flexible, that I could do and kind of come in and out of as my time allowed. Um, so that was one of the criteria. And I really wanted to buy an online business if I could. And it took me a while to really figure out how to even find a business that was for sale. There are biz, buy, sell, things like that that have physical businesses that you can buy online, but not .com businesses. So there are a few marketplaces that I finally came across and started to look at listings. And when it said, hobby business, like a women's hobby, I think it was called, or something. And so I thought, well, I should probably ask for the packet, right? And so they send you all the financial information about the business, and you sign a non-disclosure and things like that. And started to talk to them, and it felt like a good fit for what I was looking for. And like you said, establishing in a business is difficult. So there's pros and cons. Obviously, I couldn't create my own brand and my own marketing, but the head start that I had was that he already had an email list. He already had a website. He already had all of the Facebook advertising, and the infrastructure was there. So it made it a lot easier to learn how to run a business, because he also, part of the deal, usually when you buy a business, is they give you coaching, right? The owner spends a certain amount of time contractually with you. And that is incredibly helpful to have someone sit and teach you the ropes and their way of doing it. I think the biggest mistake that I made in the beginning was to really try to follow exactly what he
Of
was
course.
doing.
I mean, I
And
think all of us would do that. Like,
sure,
that's the way to do it. And if you're somebody who tries to do well in school, you're like, I'm going to do all my assignments and it's going to be just the same way. But of course, like, you bring so much to it that's unique to you.
right. And it took me a lot of time to not feel like an imposter who didn't know what she was doing. And I had run, several $100 million businesses in retail. So I had experience, but you're very, siloed in one thing. This is a very broad thing. And you put a lot of your own emotion, as many of your members know, into the business. And it
Yeah.
becomes very difficult, sometimes paralyzing, to make decisions
Yeah.
because of your lack of confidence in this particular area. It feels like more is at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. And I experienced that myself too. I think that's really relatable. I had an executive coach for 6 months, and that relationship was incredibly helpful to me
Yeah.
in learning like my decision making technique and being able to gather information from experts, from the materials in front of me, and then trust that I knew what was the best decision. I mean, that I'm still working on it, but I can tell you, like, that is a really hard thing to do. It's very different from being an employee of another business, where ultimately somebody else or a group of other people, is really in charge, even if you're in charge of your certain section or department. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot to understand it. And then when things go wrong, it is your fault,
Right.
and you made the choice and it was the wrong choice.
And sometimes it's lonely,
Yeah,
because of that. I worked in a large company. I always had people to bounce ideas off of. You have experts above you, you have peers, you have people below you. You can collaborate and kind of talk it out with someone to see, like, does this make sense?
right.
Even if I was accountable for the decision there, I had this built-in group of peers to help. And that's, one of the great things about Craft Industry Alliance, I think, too, is you just feel very lonely
Yes.
unless you can talk to others.
Right. We are your built-in group of peers. And
Right.
that is so helpful. It's incredibly helpful to me. And I think it is one of the main assets that we offer, is that sense of community. And like, here's someone I can ask this question, or just like, these are people who get it, who are doing the same thing every day that I'm trying to do and understand the ups and downs and frustrations. So that's amazing. Okay. So let's focus in on what it is you're selling now. So it's a lot of tools and notions, and
Yeah.
you're developing your own unique products as well.
Yes. So I love quilting, I love fabric, I love patterns, but there are tons of beautiful patterns out there, gorgeous pattern designers. There's plenty of choice. And I felt like, really, where I went to the Houston quilt market
Uh-huh.
and walked around as a retailer,
Uh-huh.
and thought, wow, there's really not a lot of new exciting things happening right now in this. And I felt like I could try to come up with a few ideas. And so the first one was based on your childhood spirograph.
Oh yeah.
So it is, and my original prototype actually really looked exactly like the spirograph that you had as a kid. And I've simplified it since then, since testing it for a long time. And it's basically just this shape that's a template that you can hold with your handles. Free motion is hard, right, when you're first learning it. And these templates help you to create a simple design, and then you just simply turn it, right? Sew again, and then sew again, so that you can create these symmetrical designs in kind of a controlled way that once you get much better at free motion, you wouldn't need these templates necessarily, but as a beginner, it's a really nice confidence building understanding of how free motion works. And
Right.
so the base comes with 4 templates. Now I have other templates. I've come up with a big size because a lot of people with big throat machines were asking me for them. It comes in a 1/4 inch thickness for people that have bigger machines. And so, so that's been a great product for me. And then I went through the patent process for that, and I could do a whole other show, right, on the pros and cons of that, right? But the second product was I love wool pressing mats, right? They're really useful, but I could never find the size that was perfect for every situation. So I created these wool mats that just have a puzzle edge to them,
Yeah.
like those floor tiles that you've
Yeah.
probably seen, and they go
Right.
together, right? So those can link together. And then you can, if you're in a small apartment, like when I was in New York City, so they link together like that. I love them in a long line so I can press binding or I can do large backings and press large pieces. And then you can bring them with you to a retreat.
Right.
They
Just
stack up nicely.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so those have been great. And it's a simple idea, right? And I think part of being an inventor that's taken a while is to understand that it doesn't have to be a really complicated
Right.
idea.
And in
That
fact,
innovation,
simple is
yeah,
mostly better.
better. And that innovation is getting it to market, right?
Mm.
Ideas, a lot of people have amazing ideas.
Yeah.
But the work, and I think a lot of the innovation is actually figuring out how to get it manufactured, how to get it out into the marketplace, how to price it properly, and how to distribute it. And I think there's a lot of innovation that happens during that process. So give yourself, people have ideas out there, give yourself permission to know just that's the work. The work is really
Yeah.
finding all those things and getting them out there. And be proud if you've gotten something very simple out into the marketplace that maybe isn't a patented item, but it's still something that's solving a problem for a customer.
Absolutely. I had the women who own Sew Tights, which is
Yeah.
like magnetic sewing pins,
Yeah.
on the podcast, and that's exactly what they spoke about. It's like, it's one thing to come up with this idea, like, what if we could hold this fabric together with 2 strong magnets? Okay. Now, like, getting that to market is a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
And
I listened to that podcast. It was very good. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
all kinds of ups and downs along that process. But that's really exciting because when you think about it, you're very passionate about this particular craft. And so it's like you have like an insider's peek as to what people need and where the innovation could be. And, people who are avid quilters love new notions, love to get new tools, something fun to try. So I think that's really exciting. And it's like, it's never going to end. Like the ideas, the possibilities.
So the latest one I have is where I started to dabble in fabric.
Okay.
And that was where there was more challenges, with fabric production. And I was very intimidated by the amount of minimums I would need and all of those things. So it took a little longer to work all that out.
Yeah.
But it's a fabric that's made just for binding. So the edge of the quilt.
Yeah.
So I sell it in a yardage so that you cut on the line, right?
Okay.
It gives you a 2.5 inch strip like this. And then you fold it and it has a design like washi tape was what I wanted. My idea, inspiration behind it was sort of just a little saying here.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I've never seen it with text like that.
So, just little messages that you can put on the edge of your quilt. Some of them are double-sided, like the rainbow one has plain on one side, and then if you fold it the other way, it has sweet little sayings. And that I hadn't seen in the market, really, fabric that was specifically for binding. And what's nice about that is, as a business owner, you have to think about, are they going to come back and purchase again and again? Right. So fabric, they do, right? It's a consumable product. And there's so many ideas once you get started with the structure of the binding. There's a million ideas that you can come up with. And so I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's way more artistic than the other things I've been working on. But so those are the 3 products that I've really started with, and I'm just starting to do wholesale now.
I was going to ask about whether you're doing wholesale or working with distributors yet.
I'm on Checkers. Checkers has the wool tiles and the spiral quilts.
Okay, good to know.
The fabric is there's still some challenges with figuring out fabric and distribution
Yeah.
and pricing and all of those things. Right now it's printed in the US. And so I have to figure out, obviously at a scale, probably can't do that in the long term, but that's been a journey, is figuring out the whole wholesale part of it. That's partly why I listened to your Sew Tights one, because I was really intrigued on how they did
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I feel like if you can think about all of these challenges as creative challenges, even like figuring out shipping and like all of this, or even just like accounting and taxes, there's so many things, but like if you can think about it in a way that's like, I'm applying my creative brain to this problem now, then it stops feeling so much like a chore and starts feeling just sort of like part and parcel of everything that you do. So
Yeah, it's kind of giving yourself credit for the process part, and that is creativity and a lot of decision making.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just knowing that like the flubs and like the mistakes and things like that, they're actually something that everybody makes, including people who have giant businesses,
Yeah.
make giant and expensive mistakes. And it's not as though it was like smooth sailing or a quick ride. Like it also is many years in the making. So I think that's great. I hope maybe you'll come to H&H.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, that would be great, because I think there's lots of retailers and manufacturers and all kinds of things there too to check out. So, and who would also really like to see your products. So I think that would be a great fit. And yeah, and we're just really glad that you're part of Craft Industry Alliance. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I use the resources all the time. I listen to the podcast about getting a booth right at a trade show. All of those resources really helpful.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Very good. So tell us where we can go to check you out, follow along on your journey, maybe buy some cool new tools.
Yeah. So the website is sewingbysarah.com. Sarah has an H at the end. And I'm also on Instagram at Sewing by Sarah Store. And I have a YouTube channel as well, which is also Sewing by Sarah. So yeah, would love people to follow along. You can email me also at allison@sewingbysarah.com as well if you'd like to get in contact.
This is a really inspiring story. I'm so glad you shared it with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
to you. Happy 4th, everybody, for tomorrow. And we'll see you next week. Okay, bye. Bye, Allison. See you later.